Oh, is this going to be working? I have no idea. We'll find out. Oh, it is working. All right. I see ya. Going live on Feb 20. GDP, PCE, and more. I have no idea if it's going to work, but I'm excited to try it out. Okay, I think I posted here. It's going to be live on Twitter, or X as people call it. And I'm going to put this on the top, and I just want to make sure my YouTube is live at the same time. I have no idea if it is. Okay, I don't know what that does, but I'm hoping it just works magically. Looks like it's kind of working. Okay, we're just going to leave it. And I'm just going to join the live stream on Discord so I can get that up and running. And let me just make sure this is on Do Not Disturb so I don't get spammed. And let's go live on Discord. What's up? What's up? Welcome, welcome. We'll give it another minute and see who joins. How do I change the resolution on Discord? Oh, I don't think I can. What's going on, y'all? I can't believe we have more than 100 people in the George Discord. I thought we were going to only have 10 at most. It's kind of insane. We've grown. All right, let me share my screen and walk you through the agenda for today, or what I'm seeing in the markets. Let me know if you can see my screen. Can everyone see it? All right, great. Okay. I'm live on X and YouTube. I don't know if being a full-time streamer is for me, but we'll see where that ends up. What I'm seeing on SPY, let's go through that first, just so everyone's aware of what I'm looking at. We have the strong layer of support around 681, 77, 56 area, so I'm just going to mark that as an area that I want to watch for potential blows and highs. And I'm just going to say buy calls here, unless closing on the 5 minute below 681.68-ish. We did get a lot of news today. GDP is not as strong as we expected it, or people expected it. Let me just open that link so people can see it. GDP came in below expectations, totally fine. I don't think it's actually going to do anything. I would not be interested in buying puts here, to be honest. We already have a couple of hedges for March 2020, so I'm just using that as a way to make sure that whatever happens today is I'm covered for. Like if we end up dropping below 670 or whatever that number is, 677, 74, you're pretty likely going to go towards 655. And then if we close below that, you're going towards like 610 or 600. So I'm not interested in buying puts. I think the risk and reward just isn't there, to be honest. And you're buying puts at a pretty bottom area where we've had support for this whole week, right? So I'm not interested in buying puts unless they're for scalping, but I do think the risk and reward is on the upside towards that 686 area. So I'm going to get like 686 calls probably once again. We did have a lot of accumulation yesterday, so we were able to play this nicely. And again, if I'm buying calls around this area, my target for taking profit is around 684, and then my final target there is 686. I want to leave a runner, so in case we get to 690 today, that becomes, a 400, 500% play. So that's how I'm thinking about it. I think I mentioned that to everyone yesterday too, when we were doing the recap on how to have diamond hands. We did do a couple swings, and again, these swings are from George, so we can go look at the swings page, and I'll go down to the ticker liquor section at the bottom. And because it's Friday now, he's going to do zero dated options. But we did get a list from George yesterday for things that are interesting to him. A lot of calls there, which I really like. So Apple calls, Meta calls, we did 2 of those. And then we also did UNH calls just because the chart looked good, and SoFi puts and Intel calls. So we'll see how those transpire at open. In hindsight, probably shouldn't have taken any one dated options yesterday because we had a lot of data coming out today, but we'll see how it goes. A lot of times the data is a nothing burger and market makers just manipulate down to go up anyways. So, we'll see how that goes. George does like the Apple 260 calls, and I think we did the 265C, so we'll see where that ends up. NVIDIA puts, SPX calls, SPY puts. The reason he's saying SPX calls, just so you know, is because we don't get pre-market and post-market data on SPX. So he's using the last closing price from yesterday to figure out what he wants to buy, and that's totally fine. I do think Tesla, as it stands right now, depending on where we are, looks pretty good for the upside. So I want to get like 410Cs probably. I don't know if we'll get to 413, 420, but the risk and reward on 410C and maybe even 412C are pretty good. So I might get some of those at open. And then UNH is consolidating, accumulating. I think it's going to pop towards 291, 292, maybe even 295. It does tend to move quite a bit. So if I just go measure the dollar range here, like a couple of days ago, we went from 288 at the bottom to 293 at the top. So that's a $12 range, $15 range. I think we can get to 295 today on UNH, which is the calls that I swung. And they were pretty inexpensive, and they did go up by 10% by the time that the market closed yesterday. So hopefully you were able to get exit out of that position or scale out yesterday. But I do think these lottos are either going to go up 200, 300% or go to zero, and that's totally fine. If we lose 1 week out of the 3 or 4 weeks that we've had great success for on the lottos, that's totally fine. We just got to win more than we lose. I did like Meta as a whole on the 665 calls. We'll see where that goes. This is setting up higher highs and higher lows on the 15 minute, so I'm pretty optimistic that does actually hit. That's what I'm seeing. So it's going to go towards 654, 660 is really the target for today. Hopefully we get that. If not, it's all good. Apple looks a bit interesting. If I look at it on the 4 hour, it's probably the most compelling to me. You're coming into like this double bottom area, and I'm also seeing on the 15 minutes personally. Let's go open this chart up so we can all see it. On the 15 minutes, I'm setting up like an inverse, or I'm seeing like an inverse head and shoulder form. So we'll see where that goes. I think you're going to come to the top of this range. This is the drawing that I drew like a month ago. And if I look at it on the daily, you can kind of see where I'm going with this. You're starting to get to the top of this range, and I think it's just a matter of time till this breaks out. When it breaks out, I'm going to have a position for the end of the year, 300 Apple calls. I'm going to add to that position. I've been slowly accumulating since this low here. But I do think it's setting up like a trend to break towards the upside and go hit to 304, 308 by the end of the year, if not sooner. So I really like that as a chart, but we'll see where we get at open, and we'll see the manipulation that happens because of the PCE and GDP data. And again, on the SPY, like I see this as a pretty good bottom and pretty good support area, so we'll see if they hold that or not. I do think they'll hold. I don't see this dumping down anytime soon, and anytime soon being like in the next 2 days or 3 days. There might be some stuff that happens with Iran, totally fine. We're positioned for it with the hedges that we have for March, which is the 650 puts on SPY. But at this point in time, I don't want to swing any puts or even any calls for Monday. I just don't think, it's worthwhile, because if you swung calls yesterday, at the close, you could have got a better entry today at open. And that's been the case every single day. Like, why would I take that overnight risk if I can buy the same thing that I wanted to on Monday for either the same price or maybe a discounted price? So I don't see this point of swinging anything just yet. And we also have USO leaps, or at least some of us do. And those are going to be pretty good. I think XLE as well, I really like. I think George called 55 puts yesterday. They're in the money. I kind of wish I took them, but, hindsight. I'm going to add to the XLE leaps probably at the end of the day today, because I have the 70 calls for January 2027. They were up like 35 or 40% a couple of days ago. But I want to add more of them just because I think we're coming to that discount price, and we'll see where that ends up. George is basically saying calls. Got to kind of align some expectations. SPX and SPY puts, we'll see where that goes. I'm not optimistic on buying puts just yet, or interested in buying puts just yet, until we get like a closure below that 681.68 area. And we'll see where that goes. If anyone's interested in buying silver, silver does look pretty good, but I don't want to buy anything here until this is that old area that I was telling everyone about. Like this is prior resistance that became now support. So I think maybe some 76, 77 calls on silver could hit. Gold, we did that 460 call for this Friday today, like a couple days ago. So that's in the money. You're up like 200, 300%. If anyone's holding them, feel free to take the win. I've already scaled out of most of that position. I have one runner around this area that, from yesterday. And I do have 466 lotto, one of them for today. And I also have 480 calls for today. That might be worthless, but we'll see where that goes. And I mentioned this on Monday, I think the Monday's or Tuesday's live stream. Like I want to get those gold calls as hedge against any macro environments. And so I'm glad that the 460 calls ended up printing really nicely. Yeah, there was a bit of drawdown here and here, but ultimately you could have gotten out here, or even today you're in the money at, above 200% on that play. I do think the 466 target that we set on Tuesday is right. I think we either tag that today or maybe on Monday. But this is, again, one of those trending markets where you're setting up higher highs and higher lows, at least on the 15-minute. And intraday, this looks pretty good for swinging calls. That's the reason I swung those calls in the first place. I don't see the same story on SPY or QQQ, obviously, but that's where we are. Let's go look at the QQQ chart while we're at it. Again, you're coming to that same level of support that we've had since yesterday. So let's see if we hold it or not. I do think we're going to hold this area around 600 because that's your put wall. And what do we know about market makers? They lose money when it's below the put wall, and they lose money when it's above the call wall. So I just want to make sure that we can play this range. And it's not the most compelling range because you're stuck in the $7 range here, but it is pretty easy to play. Like you can get calls around this area for 607 Cs. You're taking a profit there and then buying puts as a hedge towards 600p there. So you can play this range pretty effectively. I don't like playing QQQ. I think technology as a whole, as I mentioned yesterday, is pretty weak. But if you are interested in playing it, I think the calls here are better risk and reward rather than buying puts. Because the level below 600, and you're really looking at like 695, 690, or 595, 590 here. So that's, I don't know if it's something that we get to today or tomorrow or on Monday rather. But let's see where that ends up going. And Intel as a whole looks pretty good for a move up as well. You're coming into like this discount area where it's been supported. So I do think it's going to pop towards the upside. It might just take some time. And let's see what we got. The market is open. Again, we're going to wait for the manipulation candle. We saw this, every day for the last couple of days. So let them sweep this area and then get 684, 686 calls. And that's really what I'm interested in doing personally. So watch this for 5 minutes. We saw that, we saw this yesterday. Like they had the manipulation happen in the first 5 minutes realistically, and then they ended up bouncing towards the upside pretty fast. So let them do what they want to do, and then we'll see where we position ourselves.
By the way, those RTX calls opened up at, I think they're down now, at over 50%.
Nice. Nice. I love those RTX calls. The spread on those are pretty whack, so let's see if we can sell it. And yeah, we'll just watch. There's their meta starting to move up towards that upside target. There was news on App11, whatever it's called, that they were starting their own social network. Meta didn't move on that news, so I'm thinking that they hold. And if anyone got those gold calls, let me see what I got them at. You're up quite a bit. GLD from me. Okay, so remember I mentioned that we were buying gold calls, and let's go see what the 460s were. So we had a 150 average there. You've turned $150 into $440 here. So take the win. If anyone's still holding, just take the win. Like you're up almost 300% there. And I did have 466. I sold all of them at 177. The 466 are right now $93. So you're still up by $20 there if you ended up holding it. Meta really wants to push up. I think we're going to get data in 15 minutes so we can watch, but I do think it's going to pump towards the upside because this area has been defended quite a bit, so I really like how this is shaping up. Oh man, I should have got those calls when I said at that level. Anyways, I'm not chasing it here, but if you want to lotto, you can do 688 calls. They're pretty inexpensive. You might need to diamond hands it just because if we get a sweep lower, but we are going to get data in about 10 minutes here. So I just want to be mindful of that. And meanwhile, let's go see what UNH is doing. It's starting to go up. Same thing with Meta, same thing with Apple. Gold is just going to fly today. I already know that. That's why they got those calls. And let's open up the Intel chart just to see what that's looking like. I think you're coming into that support, and I think it's going to get towards 45 pretty quickly. Yeah, George mentioned Google calls. I don't know why we didn't take them, but, you know, it has gone good. I do think it rejects. There's a high chance it rejects up here just because that's where we've rejected multiple times this week. So let's just mark a level there. Or sorry, mark a level here. And we'll see where that ends up. And let's go open the Tesla chart because I'm interested in seeing what that's doing. Okay, what I'm going to do is get Tesla calls as lottos right now. And we got the 420, 415 calls. I'm just going to get one of them. Sorry, 417.5 calls because it has pretty good open interest. You know what? Let's do the 420s and we'll scale out of this as time goes. I'll get two of these. And what I want to do is come back to this because it'll fill. I know this will fill. And sell one of them at, let's do 90. So we can get a nice 100% plus return there. And I'll leave a free runner just for kicks. Yeah, there's your pop on Tesla. We're up 20% on those calls. If anyone took it with me, take the win. And let's see what we get around across the board on Intel, Apple. Let's open up the Apple chart there. And Meta and UNH. I think it's just a matter of time till it pops as well. What I'm going to do is this. If anyone has questions, feel free to ask. Oh yeah, let's go look at WDC. I'm not going to chase it here, but I think it's going to go towards that 310 area, 300 area. But let's see what it does. This is always a classic undercut and rip. Like you had your undercut, and then now you're starting to rip higher. So yeah, spreads are whack. Same thing with Micron. I was looking at it this morning. I was like, oh, it's going to move towards 440, and this is where I'd be interested in shorting it, but I don't want to do anything right now. And SNDK probably got the same story. You're moving up towards that same rejection area around here. Let's see if it rejects or continues to go towards 669. But again, this is also a trending environment for memory and storage names where it's setting up higher highs and higher lows. So I think it's worth doing something there. I'm more leaning towards getting puts at this rejection area rather than chasing calls, but you do what you're comfortable with. There's your pop on Meta, and let's go look at Intel because those are the things that we swung. And we'll see how that goes. I told you get those SPY calls, but I don't want to chase it here. I'm going to wait for the data. I'm going to be patient on this one. All right, if anyone swung those 645 Meta calls, you're in the money. Take the win. Let's see where I put it. I'm just going to have to redo this again. All right. Meta 665C. Oh, sorry, I was thinking 645, not 665. All right, we'll see where this pops. I think if it gets towards that 60, I'm going to start trimming those calls. We're up 30% on the Tesla calls. Take the win, y'all. Meta wants to pop, SPY wants to pop, but I want to wait for data. I'm just going to see if they reject here and come back down towards 682 to give me another entry. Then I'll get the 686 calls. Man, everyone's tagging me on owls. All right, whatever. We'll come back to that later. What was that? Sounded like a ghost.
Did you get a soundboard?
Was that a soundboard?
I don't know. That's why I'm asking.
No idea.
By the way, Poopy, congrats there on Google. Always going up.
Just gotta win more than you lose. We'll see where this ends up. Because one thing that could happen at 9:45 candle when we get that news is just gonna dump down towards 679, and we'll see what the candle looks like. But yeah,
There's also the possibility of a SCOTUS decision today in relation to possible their announcement on tariffs, if anything, on the IEPA case.
Nice. We'll see if we get that at 10, right?
10 is when they release the docket. Sometimes they can be a little bit late with it, but by and large, that time.
Fair enough. I will say this is one of the slower Fridays we've had in a while. And usually everything just rips up or down really quickly in the first 5 minutes, but got nothing today. Oh, I think if anyone took the SoFi puts, you're in the money too. Yeah, SoFi puts, you're up like 50, 60%, whatever. Just take the win. I want to scale out of that right now. Give me a sec. SoFi 19p at 36. What's it at right now? 19p, 20.